Table spaces can be further classified as, permanent table spaces, temporary table spaces, undo table spaces, big file like 1 TB table file table spaces, and transportable table spaces. The permanent table spaces where the user data or the system data will be stored. Temporary table spaces are those where system will be using it for sorting operations. When the for sorts, system memory is not enough, the temp table space will be used in that. So the difference of when we are altering or creating, the difference in the syntax for temporary table space is just you will be using a keyword temporary in the syntax. Let's say the regular table space, you say create table space and table space name. Let's say this is going to be temp, so you're going to say temp. So here in the temp, whenever you are using a temporary table space, you're going to say create temporary table space, and as well as instead of adding as a data file, you will be adding as a temp file. Okay, so you'll be adding a temp file, but the location of the file, you could use the same location where you're keeping a data files, u03 or a data and temp01.dbf. So that is the difference in temporary table spaces, and this one also requires to give a size. You will be giving 100M as the size. Similarly, when you create an undo table space, the difference is instead of temporary, you will be calling create undo table space and undo table space name, so on and so forth. So we will be discussing that in the flash recovery chapter, but here I will execute this exact syntax for temporary table space, and we'll see how this will be executed. Learn to create table spaces like permanent table spaces and temporary table spaces. Now let's look at from the point of user. When you create a user, you are going to mention about a default permanent table, default table space, which is a permanent table space. So you can give one table space like TBS1 or table space 1 as a permanent table space. Along with that, you also need to tell what is the user's temporary table space, what table space he's going to use as a temporary table space. And it's not limited to have only one default table space. He can have on permissions on multiple table spaces. So not necessarily one, but he can have on two, three, and he can have like 10% quota or unlimited quota, meaning where he can create objects on this in this table space 3 as much as he wants. On another table space, he could have only 10%. So similarly, if there is a user 2, his default could be table space 2, and he may or may not have permissions on other. But you might have same temp table space as at temp1 or temp01. Okay, so that's how the relationship goes, and let's see this in execution. So when we are creating a user, we're going to create when we create a user, we will be studying that in user session, but we'll just going to demonstrate that. So create a user identified by will be his password, and then you have his default table space and a temporary table space. These are the one table space which you're going to define. So we'll see this in action. Let's look at it. Big file table spaces. So before 10G until now, there were regular table spaces or default table spaces which are now, with introduction of big file table spaces, or the old traditional ones are called as a small file table spaces, in which you could add one data file, maximum up to 20 GB if the operating system is 32-bit, and if it is 64-bit, if it's supporting the maximum size 40 GB. If you have to go over this size for that particular table space, you have to add literally more number of files for given one single table space. That was in table spaces which are small, or traditional table spaces. But from 10G onwards, the Oracle has started something called big file table spaces based on your limitations. If it can these are can supported, like 128 terabyte one single file. So meaning, if you just have, if you will just assign one very large file for one table space, and you need more space in a file or a table space, you just extend that up to maximum 128 terabytes. Um, so and it also depends on what is the block size your system can allow. So this will eliminate practically many files to one table space relationship. It will be one table space to one data file. So how do we create that? Let's see this in action.